Hi, I'm Melody White, founder of Master Sequencer and the Art of Sequencing Workshop. And by now you've seen me a few times in videos where explaining passive energy and active energy and conducting a class with Joe. And I wanted to take a chance to formally introduce myself. So again, I'm Melody. And to talk about how the Art of Sequencing and Master Sequencer developed. And it really started 20-some years ago in my driveway. Well, it started 20-some years ago when I was trying to find some type of movement that did not inflame my body and help me feel good. So I used to be a runner, and I spent a lot of time running long distance, and that began to not feel good. I was diagnosed with multiple autoimmune illnesses over a 30-year period, starting from a young age of 7, and it seemed like movement accelerated the pain. So I ended up in a yoga class by the fact that the ellipticals for running on were full. And I noticed that I felt better from that class, even though it was intense and it was vinyasa. And then I went back the next day and the next day, because whatever I do obsessively. And I fell in love with the movement of my body in that form, in the form of yoga. What I found, though, is that not all classes left me feeling the same. And so sometimes I left a class and felt worse than when I came in, even though overall yoga was supporting me. A few months into it, I was noticing some felt better than others. And so I began to want to know more about it. And I got, I took teacher training. And then after I finished training, I decided, I just quit really I was teaching, but I wasn't going to any studios anymore. And I started in my driveway on my mat, listening to how I wanted to move, to what made me feel good. And as I had my mat in my driveway, labeled the eccentric lady, I began to move in patterns that were supportive to my body. And I was studying energy medicine and Chinese medicine and eventually Ayurvedic medicine because I was trying to figure out how to feel good. I felt good on my mat. I was listening. I was hearing patterns of movement, and that's how the formulas, the principles for the mandala practice came out. And I was feeling good. And I noticed if I went to take class, it wasn't a good class or something like that, but it wasn't energetically inclined. And so I just spent hours on my mat. I was at a place in my life where I was an empty nester, and I had the time to do this. And that's how the sequencing, how we get down to Master Sequencer and the Art of Sequencing, is that it's been about 20 years, 2 decades worth of sitting on my mat and being directed by the subtle body for movements that feel good. And what I have come to find out after studying in these different modalities of healing is that what is being supported is I'm working with my body on a vibrational level, that these mandalas, these infinity patterns, these beautiful sacred circles are soothing and strengthening my subtle body, which is what manifests the physical body. And I knew that, so I would hear from above, I know that sounds crazy, but it was like from counsel from spirit, different ways to move and different ways to be and things I should write down. So that's how the fundamental formula came forward. The principles for rotation came forward. And there is an ability to direct energy on your mat. So energy is real. I just said that. I'm saying it again because it's such a powerful thing to know that people are starting to, it's ancient wisdom that we're energetic beings, but it's I think we've lost that understanding in our connection to these great sources that exist. The first understanding that I received is that we as beings sit between 2 great sources and are supported by these, heaven and earth. And as I understood that, I knew that I in movement on my mat was establishing a relationship between these two sources. And so I like to give this imagery, which I've used probably from the first day, my first teacher training that I taught ever, which has been I've been doing that for about a decade, training teachers, is that this great source of heaven, if you pretend like you hold a rope and this is heaven holding the rope, and you're the rope, and then you're attached to earth, that your strength is that you are strong and supported between these two great sources. And what's interesting is that the earth is your foundation. It's what nurtures us. That's what's called Mother Earth. And if you are not connected to Mother Earth, if I pull this rope taut, and I'm the rope, and this is heaven and this is earth, and I let go, I become ungrounded. And someone can flick that rope and move. But if I am attached above and below and connected to these sources, and someone hits it or taps it, the rope doesn't move, it stays stable. So the other interesting piece was that if you are disconnected to the heavens, and whatever that means to you, if you let go of this, the rope falls like a fall from grace. And that was like the first energetic understanding that came to me. And it was very powerful because everything else lays out from those two sources. So there are beautiful, amazing forces that work in polarities that are energies that support our existence. They are part of physics, of the law of physics, these that govern our earth. But as Neil deGrasse said, as it is in heaven, so it is on earth. And so these forces support us. And that's what you're doing when you're working with energy. You're working with these forces, and you are supported by those two great sources. And all things fall out from there, meaning even your, whether how you restore yourself from stress, it's all governed by this connection to these two sources. So our ability to work with energy is powerful because we are vibrating beings. And so for the thing I'm grateful for is to have been a channel, and am a channel for conducting this work of setting forward principles and formulas that guide and direct a yoga practice to move in a way that soothes and supports your subtle body and offers what I think is vibrational healing. And that is, off the chart. Disclaimer, I am not a doctor or certified in any of that kind of stuff. But that's what it feels like, is that you are, and I know that in the core of my being, that this is vibrationally supporting your body, and that we are beings of energy, and that being able to direct and energy is powerful. So this master sequence, or the art of sequencing workshop, it's about understanding the energies, the patterns of movement that have been 20 years in the making. So I'm excited to share this. It's been a long time coming to do this. I encourage you to take a look at this and enjoy and absorb the fact that we're beings of energy and learning how to work with it. Thanks for watching all of this, and I hope to see you again in future videos.